All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, Ship It Nation YouTube station? Back with another Sunday Night Football breakdown here. Got my guy Ham in the booth with me today. Break down this what seems to be a pretty gross game here on the Sunday. Goes with the theme of this Sunday overall slate of games, right? Feels pretty gross. Obviously, when you do have the split, the Black Friday game, and then the Thanksgiving games where you have some of the top tier teams in the league facing off, you get a pretty watered down overall Sunday slate of games. And it feels like that's going to be this case here. Denver traveling to Washington. 43.5 is the total. 6.5 point favorites are Denver on the road here. Washington obviously still without Jaden Daniels. Looks like Jaden Daniels is primed to play week 14, which is next week against the Vikings there. But it will be Mariota here up against the league's number one overall defense in terms of yards allowed, things like that, fantasy numbers, everything like that. Denver has been a pretty stifling defense at that. But, Ham, I'll bring you in, man. Happy Sunday. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, what's going on? Happy Sunday. And before we get too far down the road, we did a show Friday, Black Friday show. My man Nades was all over it. Hopefully some of you all made some money with his Swift and the captain spot. That took me by surprise, Nades. I would have never guessed it. Hey, I said it myself, right? Manungai Swift, bad plays. You said, nah, Ham, here, hold my beer. I'm going to play Swift up in the captain. So great call by you. Hopefully we can get this one, nail this one as well, right? We got a interesting game. The Broncos, similar to the Eagles the other day, that, there's no way they can lose to the Commanders, especially on the road. Alex Singleton, cancer survivor. So, man, that's great to see him back. He only missed, 2 or 3 games. I think that's some big news. Linebacker. You get Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain back in the fold. And you get the GOAT, Marcus Mariota, in there as well. Former Tennessee Titan great. You love to see him out there. He's in a tough matchup, Nate, so looking forward to breaking it all down.
Yeah, very tough matchup here, and it's going to feel that it's going to be kind of common theme throughout this show here that we're going to talk about when we're trying to break down, right, the Washington side of this game. But before we do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. If you're not a member yet, you see it up there on the screen, 5 days for $19. Use that code SHIP19. And if you also want to just join and get in for the remainder of the season, Black Friday right now, we do have our package, as you see here up on the screen. $119 gets you content only through the rest of the season, all the way through Super Bowl. If you want to add on SaberSim, which I highly suggest you do, $167 through the rest of the season and Super Bowl with our SaberSim partner. There, you get Ship It Games entries. You see, you get the projections, ownership, all the rest on the screen there. Best rate right now in the industry. Still time to act on that and get in for a chance at the $85,000 right now as it currently stands for the Ship It Games. Shout out to our guy Sharks. My guy Sharks helps me out daily in the NHL channel just as a nice member. Plays a lot of sports over on DraftKings and had himself a big night in the MMA streets a couple weeks back and donated $5,100 right to that pool for the Ship It Game. So again, Black Friday right now is your time to get in. But yeah, Ham, I'll throw it over to you, man. I did the broad slate overview here just real quick off the top, and you see stack exposures. I go to team stacks here, go to 5 stacks, and you're looking at in 150 bills just as kind of an average of projections and ownership right now. You're seeing about 51% 5-1 builds of Denver, more of the same case. I mean, that was the same exact case that we saw Friday night when I ran the teams, right, when you were getting a bunch of 5-1s, the Bears way, right? So kind of Bears would be looked at as kind of Washington in this game. Now, I don't think it's quite as easy of a take like I had on Friday, right, to play the running backs there. And just I saw a pretty easy way to attack that game. It's not the case here, man. Washington with Mariota there. The only thing I will say that is going for them is it is in Washington and it's not in Denver. That does make somewhat of a difference here, at least a little bit. And I think that's why you see the 18 implied team total there for the Commanders. But what do you see here? Obviously, it's going to be very Denver heavy in terms of the captain and overall roster construction, 4-2 and 5-1. 5-1 is going to be 25 to 30% owned, again, in Denver's favor, along with that Denver defense. What do you see here, though, as kind of a broad slate, and then take us into the captains here?
Yeah, both teams coming off a Week 12 bye, so they should be fully rested. We do get whatever his nickname is, Terry McLaurin, back in the fold tonight for Mariota to throw to. But like we said earlier, you also get Surtain back. Denver's defense seems to be fairly healthy there. It's tough, Nate. It's tough to find Fat Debo, any other commander like getting up top in this one. I think it's just going to be a smash mouth, grind it out. I mean, I like Denver. I have to kind of agree with what you're showing here in the dry run. So to me, yeah, it's Denver. I'm going to play this game for Denver to win and probably win convincingly, Nate. So what does that mean to me? I do like Denver's defense. I'll even take some shots on them in the captain if I'm playing 10+ teams. The other thing though, Nades, is that it's kind of like wide receiver / running back / tight end roulette with the Broncos too, right? So that makes me love Bo Nix up in the captain. It's not going to be a secret to anybody. You see it there as well, but he has rushing upside, and then he's not afraid to pass 4 touchdowns to 4 different guys. So like Bo Nix up top, like the Broncos a lot. It's going to be a lot of 5-1s, a lot of 4-2s for me in this matchup.
Yeah, no, I like some of what you're saying there. I'll kind of start with the Commander side here. I think a guy like Deebo Samuel up top is fairly interesting. I have to assume Terry McLaurin being back is only going to help Deebo Samuel there. Terry at 12K seems like a easier click, and ownership would suggest that. Obviously, neither of these guys are really going to get too owned there, but you're seeing about 10% owned on Mariota at $300 more. Obviously, Bo Nix is going to be the chalkiest guy on the slate in particular. And then you're seeing, let me just get rid of these other guys. You're seeing guys like Troy Franklin, RJ Harvey, Cortland Sutton command more ownership. Deebo sandwiched between all of them. And with McLaurin being back, I have to assume he takes the Pat Surtain assignment on the outside, which could increase the floor and the potential ceiling for a guy like Deebo, which I know it hasn't been great, but as a different angle than what the field is going to attack this as, I think Deebo is a pretty interesting option, especially up top in the captain position there, and definitely in the flex. I prefer him much more over Terry McLaurin coming back. And then Zach Ertz as well. I think he could play up top in a game environment where you need some more of these guys in the flex, right? Bo Nix at 11K in the flex, Deebo Samuel 10K, who I like, Sutton 9,800, Troy Franklin 8,800, Harvey 8,400. You do have some higher priced options here in the flex in general. So I think the two options I would have from the Washington side of things would be Zach Ertz, which is the best spot to target Denver. If there was a spot to target Denver against, would be the tight end. So I think Zach Ertz and Deebo Samuel make the most sense up top for myself. Not really getting to Mariota. I think Bo Nix is fine up there. I do struggle with Bo Nix a little bit. I think if Bo Nix gets there, I think it's more done with his legs in this matchup. Washington does put a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterbacks for as bad as their defense is. We haven't seen a ton of ceiling performances against the Washington from opposing quarterbacks in general. So I think Bo Nix, if he gets there up top, it is with his legs more so. So for me, it's Troy Franklin is kind of my favorite overall Denver play. He's kind of emerged as wide receiver 1 in this offense, has kind of overtaken Sutton. The ownership is going to swing that way. So you could obviously do the counter argument to that point and just go back to Cortland Sutton here. But with the salary savings, I'll go Troy Franklin over Sutton. But for me, it's going to be, again, Deebo, Zach Ertz, Troy Franklin, a little bit of Sutton, and then I think Bo Nix are kind of the main guys I'm looking at. RJ Harvey, I think is fine. I just think you're kind of looking for striking lightning in a bottle there in general. And I just think you're going to see a lot of RJ Harvey Broncos defense type builds, which I don't love in general, just going with the rest of the field there. Ham, any additional captain takes here before we jump over and talk the flex here in general?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the one area where we disagree, I do have a little bit of interest in RJ Harvey up there, 61% of the snaps last time. in a game they should control. I think they should get a lot of opportunities. So I have a little bit more interest in RJ Harvey, it sounds like, than you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's jump over, talk the flex here. Quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Marcus Mariota. Mariota at 10-2 is fairly expensive. He is commanding a decent amount of ownership there. I mean, 50+% owned. No surprise there. Good game scripts for him at home here. What's your take on Mariota? Are you going to be underweight that number? That is a pretty high number. Assuming that they're implied to only score 18 points here. Obviously, things can change for a hurry. I have to assume that most are leaning, obviously, Bo Nix over Mariota up here. But what's your take in terms of the quarterbacks here?
Yeah, obviously, Bo Nix is going to be ahead of Mariota. But Mariota back-to-back, I think, 15-plus point games. And that, even if it is a blowout and he gets that, I mean, that's going to be the highest owned, or not highest owned, the most points by a Commander player. So I like him. He has rushing upside as well to boot. You talked a little bit about Debo. I don't really like Debo, but he can throw a little slip screen to Debo. And we've seen in the past that Debo can take that 70 yards to the house. Obviously, Debo gets those points, but so does Mariota. So I think Mariota's in play. For me, it's more of a flex spot, though, than putting him up top. But, yeah, I think he's squarely in play in this one, especially if you're going like 5-1. I don't hate Mariota as that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There, take us over to the running back position here. Obviously, RJ Harvey is going to lead the ownership, going to be one of the highest owned plays on the slate in both the captain and the flex here at 8,400. 6.5-point favorites here, plus matchup against Washington in terms of running overall. Not a ton of work behind him, right? McLaughlin doesn't really get much work at all. Tyler Batty would probably be the only other guy that's really going to kind of spell Harvey. I think you could play them both together, obviously, at these salaries, and that could be a way to play them differently. But on the Washington side, you got a three-headed monster here with McNichols, Rodriguez, and Krosky Merritt. I think the best play from overall, I think on one of the best plays overall from the Washington side would be Jeremy McNichols, just with his touch floor in the passing game, right? The dump offs, things like that. But what do you see here from the running back position in general?
Yeah, let's stay on the Washington side. You said it best, three-headed monster. They did have 27 rushes their last game in week 11. So we know the script that they're going to do, especially against this high-powered, I wouldn't call it high-powered, but I'd say it's a good team in the Broncos. They want to play keep away from Bo Nix. They're going to play ground and pound, smash mouth football. Bill, my boy Bill Jacoski Merritt, he is a little higher than Rodriguez. In my opinion, Nate's interested to hear what you take. I think Rodriguez has kind of taken the little RB1 action away from Krosky Merritt. Now Merritt still did have 9 carries last week. But Rodriguez, I feel like, is their goal line back. And at 6,400, I would have him, as my number one Washington running back. If you're building those game scripts like we talked about, where Denver is going to get out to a lead, certainly agree with you with McNichols. McNichols is kind of their 2-minute back, third down back. He can certainly rack up, 6-7 catches, and you're going to need him. Then on the flip side, I love RJ Harvey. Like I said, offensive line's very good for the Broncos. 61% of their snaps last week, 11 rushing attempts. He's also going to catch it in the air as well. He kind of split the third down role with whatever his name is, Tyler Beatty, whatever you want to call him. So I really like RJ Harvey, and that would kind of be the extent of the running backs for Denver for me.
Yeah, so Chris Rodriguez, the process suggests he's RB1 in this offense now. We kind of saw that last week there. I don't have interest in either one of JCM or Rodriguez. I'm fine just full fading them and saying, hey, the 20% of the field or so that's going to play them, which may be a little high. I get it. They're going to be low owned. It's just a terrible matchup against Denver. It's not, I don't feel the same that I did Friday, right, with the Bears running backs. I thought that was a much better spot to attack. It was actually a good spot. Running backs were actually doing pretty good against Philly in general. Not the case here against the Broncos. I mean, Jackson Dart, 7.1 rushing points was the most Denver's allowed all season. And again, Jackson Dart, I think, is much more explosive than Rodriguez or Krosky Merritt. So again, takes me back to McNichols being my favorite guy in general. And I think he's going to get there more so if he does get there in the passing game overall. RJ Harvey, not much more to say. Great play by far. By far and away the best running back play on the slate, one of the overall best plays on the slate by far. Like I said, and ownership's going to also lean that way. Not going to really mess with these other guys. I think Tyler Batty Denver onslaught type builds, I think you can get there. But again, it feels it's for me, it's RJ Harvey and Jeremy Nichols are the two running back plays that I have interest in myself. Running back or wide receiver, again, Debo, talked about him. He's up at 10K in general. Terry McLaurin, I believe, is going to be back in this game for sure. But again, watch for inactives there coming off the bye. He should be all right to play here. You got Cortland Sutton, 9,800. Troy Franklin, $1,000 cheaper. Ownership is definitely going to lean more so in Franklin's side. And all it takes is one game to kind of flip. And everybody knows what the numbers say. Everybody has seen what the snaps and the route participation and the targets and all of that have been over the last couple of games with Troy Franklin compared to Cortland Sutton. Is this a spot where you want to flip and go back to a guy like Cortland Sutton here, or are you still riding on Troy Franklin in a game where the spread would indicate they don't have to pass a ton in general here? But what do you see from the wide receiver position?
Yeah. You kind of nailed it, right? There's 3 Broncos receivers you're going to play: Bryant, Sutton, and Franklin. Marvin Mims, I don't think you mentioned Marvin Mims. Maybe you did, but I think he's more of like a gadget play. Got no targets. He's more of a if you wanted to double dip maybe and go Broncos defense and Mims and hope he gets returns a punt. I mean, you're stretching it there, but so no Mims for me. Man, it's tough to play these Broncos Commanders receivers, Nade. So, man, Debo, McLaurin, and your boy, the chosen one, like it's tough. It's tough to play those guys. I know you said you'll full fade the running backs for Washington. I'm fine full fading the Commanders wide receivers in this one.
Yeah, I definitely won't full fade because I'm probably not going to be playing any 5-1s again here. I just never really play 5-1, especially when it's going to be popular like it is on the slate. The time to really play 5-1s is when nobody's doing it, and you just say, hey, one team's just going to kind of steamroll the other, which the spread would obviously indicate here, and projections and ownership and everything, excuse me, would also indicate here. So that's not a spot where I really want to tap in and play 5-1s. I want to talk about the Pat Bryant here. Pat Bryant coming off the bye, I think, gets more involvement. We've seen 64% route share and 5 catches for 82 yards in that week 11 matchup there. So I think he is an interesting play. It's definitely likely that him and Marvin Mims are going to split the snaps there. I think they're just going to lean more into a guy like Pat Bryant, I think, especially coming off the bye in general. So I think he's a pretty solid value play at his price point there. Troy Franklin runs majority of the routes in the slot. And that's really where you want to target Washington the most is those slot receivers. Ran 50% of his routes last week in the slot, has seen 8+ targets in 5 consecutive games. So obviously very, very good play. I would lean Troy Franklin just like everybody else. But again, don't forget about Cortland Sutton. I think Cortland Sutton's ownership here is going to be criminally low compared to that of Troy Franklin here. I wouldn't be shocked if Cortland Sutton here came in below 25% and you see Troy Franklin come up to around 40% or so. So you take some for Sutton, give it right to Franklin. I think that's a very, very viable option or a very realistic scenario, right? That can pan out leading up to lock here. So Sutton, Franklin, both great plays. Pat Bryant at 3,200, I think is a really, really nice value play. He's going to be owned, but these guys still get held in check, especially with the defenses and the kickers for a little bit more. On the Washington side, Deebo Samuel is my favorite guy, just with that touch floor. I think Mariota's going to have to get the ball out quick, is going to be under pressure. Dump offs to guys like McNichols, Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz across the middle of the field. So I think Deebo's my second favorite overall pass catcher on the slate. Once we get to Zach Ertz, I'll talk about him. I like him a lot. And then I think a guy like Chris Moore at 2,800. The reason being is he has gotten, if they do get to the red zone, he has shown red zone targets, and he's 2,800. Nobody's going to play him. So if there was a spot there, I think going to a guy like Chris Moore, who again is kind of the red zone guy behind Deebo Samuel and Zach Ertz on this team. So for me, it's Deebo, it's Chris Moore, it's from the Washington side, not really messing with guys like Jalen Lane. Terry McLaurin, I'm under on. Much rather just play Troy Franklin or drop down and save salary. And then not messing with much of Treylon Burks at 1K personally myself. Let's jump over and talk the tight ends here. I alluded to liking Zach Ertz a ton here. If there was a spot to target, it's still not great, but it is the best spot on the field right now to target Denver against is tight ends. Zach Ertz, 7K, expensive price point to pay. Props are good, and I think he's fine. He's obviously shown tons of connections there with a guy like Mariota, and in a catch-up type script, right, where the spread would indicate 6.5-point dogs here, you could see a lot of dump offs or across the middle, short conversion, chunk plays, right? When Denver's kind of playing a little bit softer, and that can lead to a lot of PPR and a lot of yards overall for a guy like Zach Ertz. What do you see here from the tight end position?
Yeah, I think that Chris Moore gets a 0. I can pretty much guarantee that Chris Moore's terrible. I do not like Zach Ertz either. Evan Ingram. Let's talk Evan Ingram. Let's talk Adam Troutman. I'm out on Troutman. He plays a bunch. They don't throw him the ball. Evan Ingram rarely plays, about half the time. They do throw him the ball at 4,600 nades. What do you think of Ingram? To me, Ingram's the only viable one. The ageless wonder, Zach Ertz. Love the story, but man, 7K for that guy. I guess you could make a case where he could just get peppered, but I'm out on Ertz. So what's your take on Ingram? Interested to hear what you have. I don't love Ingram because he's hardly ever out there, but when he's out there, you know he's going to run routes and you know they're going to throw him the ball. So Ingram would be where I'd ask you.
Yeah, I don't mind Ingram. He's got 3 red zone targets in the last 4 weeks. He's a big body, right? Big guy. And if they are in the red zone, if it's not going to a guy like RJ Harvey or Troy Franklin, who's the other red zone's threat, Evan Ingram is the guy, right? Or obviously Bo Nix could run it in himself. But I think Ingram and Troy Franklin are their 2 guys that they like the most in the red zone. Sutton's right there too. But for me, it's Ingram and Zach Ertz. The reason I like Zach Ertz a little bit more than you is, again, I don't like those Washington running backs in that same range there. So I'm going to have to play someone. Zach Ertz projecting right around 20% ownership. I'll be over the field there and feel pretty good. Like I said, I think the way Washington is going to try and attack Denver here is over the middle, short chunk type plays, because you can't really beat them deep on the seams. So I think that leads more to guys like Zach Ertz, Deebo Samuel, and McNichols overall. So that's kind of the way I'm attacking this slate. Not really playing Bates, Sinat, or Troutman, any of those guys. It's just Ertz and Ingram for me. I'll be higher on Ertz overall than Ingram. Kickers and defense to round us out here. Man, I mean, you're talking probably, again, 30 to 35% ownership on Broncos defense, all the way up at $5,400. That is a hefty price point to pay. But again, good defense in general. They are on the road here, but it's still Marcus Mariota on the other side. Will Lutz, Jake Moody, 2 solid kickers here. Both going to get owned. Will Lutz going to be probably close to 40% in a lot of stuff, just because, again, it goes back to everybody wants to play the Denver side. And he's a good kicker coming off a big game, right? 18 points. But before then, hasn't cracked 10 points all season. So naturally, what happened in week 11 has to happen in week 13. And Will Lutz is going to score 15 plus DraftKings points here. I would much rather play Jake Moody, who the 2 games that he kicked this year, 16 and 14 overall, obviously on a different team. But we know Jake Moody does have a big leg here. Feels kind of gross playing an underdog kicker, but at 4,800 with the ownership discount, and you do have to play someone or a couple of people at least from Washington. I think Jake Moody's fine. Not really playing much Commanders, and I'll be underweight on the Broncos. But what do you see here? Special teams.
Yeah, I love the Broncos. Like I said earlier, I'll even have some of them up top and just playing, a typical Broncos game as of late, 10-7, 13-7 type affair that we saw in that gross Thursday night game. Yeah, you said no Commanders, Nades, but what about if we get just bad Bo Nix, and it is that Raiders 10-7 game where he has a couple sacks, couple turnovers at 3,400. We always talk, it only takes one, right? He's priced right there with Pat Bryant. He's going to get some ownership. I don't think the Commanders are the worst play, even in a Bo Nix, even captain team, just because he could throw two or run two and have 2 or 3 turnovers. So I don't hate that. Doesn't sound like you like that. And then kickers are always so tough. I mean, you're hoping for field goals, which is just like taking the under, in my opinion. But I think Lutz has a leg up on Moody. I mean, I've seen too many Moody wide rights in San Francisco, Nades. I'm just scarred by that, I guess. I want to click on his name.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I don't love the kickers at this kind of ownership much. I'd rather take a shot at some of those skill position guys or those cheaper guys overall. Broncos, I get it there, but again, I just think they're going to be higher owned than what they should be, especially the way we've seen some of these gross games go in general in these primetime type games. So I get it. Commanders, I just can't get behind. I mean, they had 3 sacks against Tua, who can't scramble or move the pocket at all. They had 3 sacks there, scored 4 fantasy points. I mean, they could happen, I guess. I think Bo Nix is mobile enough to at least elude the pressure there in general and get it done with his legs. So for me, it's really the kickers are my 2 favorites of any of these guys, and lean more towards Moody overall of the 4 here. But I don't love much from either any of these special teams, even though I do think this game goes under. And I think it's like a 17-10, 17-14 type game here, I think, or 20-14, something like that. I think it goes under the total. And I think the Broncos do win, but I think the Commanders at least hang somewhat in the game, at least to be able to find maybe 2 or 3 of these guys to find in my team. So more so like a 4-2 Denver type build, or a 3-3 type build where most people want to go 4-2 Denver, or a 5-1 Denver overall. So that's kind of my closing thoughts. Any closing thoughts for you before we get out of here?
No, I don't think so. Good luck tonight in the contest. Hopefully you take it all home tonight, Nades. I know you were there on Friday. Maybe you can get to the finish line tonight.
Yeah, hopefully the season's turning around there. I had a couple close calls lately. Was primed up in a pretty damn good position in that Bear Showdown. Obviously, things didn't fall my way in the fourth quarter there compared to what the first 3 quarters look like. But yeah, hopefully, if it's not this showdown, it's the Sunday main slate, right? Which feels pretty gross as well. So no, good luck in your contest. Hope to see all those Ship It Nation logos at the top. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Again, down in the comment section, drop your favorite captains and your score prediction. If you do hit the score prediction correct with the winner, obviously right as well, we will give away free membership over here for 1 month with SaberSim included as well. So we do check those. But again, for Ham, I'm Nades. Good luck tonight in those contests. Hope to see those Ship It Nation logos at the top. We're out of here. Peace.